Hi, and welcome to tutorial number 2. During this tutorial, we are going to continue talking about integer variables, and we are also going to cover a little bit about conditional statements. Okay, so first we're going to start with a very simple animation. We are going to make a circle go across the screen. And that's going to happen just by increasing the variable which changes the position of my shape every time. Something very similar to what we did during tutorial 1, but in this case we are going to start creating some conditions within our animation in order for the circle to do various things. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to create an integer variable called xmax, and I'm going to initialize this variable in 0, and I'm going to make the ymax also start in 0. So I have my xmax position and my ymax position. I'm going to create the size, make the standard size that we have been using for these tutorials, and we are going to set up a background, a black background for our design. So at this point, we pretty much only have our black screen of 800 by 600, okay? Now let's start drawing. I'm gonna make an ellipse, and this ellipse is gonna start at x max and y max, and I'm gonna make it 50 by 50, okay? This is the size of my ellipse or my circle, and this is the position where it's going to start. So at this point, my ellipse starts right on the top left corner of my window. Okay? First thing we're going to change. I am going to actually set up my ymax. So I'm going to overwrite my ymax to the height divided 2. Now, height is a word that is recognized by processing as the height of my window. So if I type in height divided 2, it will grab those 600, which is the height, and divided by 2, so it would be 300. But we can always make reference to the height or the width depending on what we need. If we need right at the middle of the whole screen, we would say width divided 2 and height divided 2. Okay, so at this point, I should have my ellipse right in the middle of the height. Okay, so I'm going to make this circle go across the screen like an animation. So for this, I'm going to change and I'm going to increase. It's very simple. I'm going to increase xmax by, let's say, 5. Okay, and when I increase this xmax by 5, I'm going to change the position of the ball, okay? So pretty much this is what's going to happen, okay? Even though I'm leaving a trace and xmax is already out of my maximum width, I'm drawing the ball repetitively, okay? Very good. Now, if I don't want to leave that trace, I just need to update the background again. Update the background, and then I'll have a moving ball across the screen. Okay, so this is my ball, and it just went away because xmax doesn't have a limit. Xmax is just increasing over and over again, infinitely. Okay, what if I want that ball to just bounce back? Okay, then I would have to set some limits for xmax, and if xmax reaches the width of my screen, then I need, instead of adding, I need to subtract, okay? So that's exactly what we're going to do. If xmax is greater or equal than the width, okay? If this happens, then what should it do? Okay, then if that happens, then I'm going to change, instead of adding, subtracting. In order to change this, I need to change this 5 to a variable, okay? And this variable, I'm going to name it direction. So it changes the direction over and over again, okay? In direction, and I'm gonna say that it's 5, okay? So every time that it reaches this maximum point, or it's greater or equal than the width, then the direction is gonna change the sign, or instead of adding, it will be subtracting. So direction is gonna be direction times -1, okay? This way, I will change the sign of direction over and over again, and instead of adding 5, I want to add the direction. So here's how it works. X max reaches the width of my screen. As soon as it reaches the width of my screen, direction is multiplied by -1, so direction is now, it's not adding, now it's subtracting. Okay, let's see how it works. Let's click on play, and it must reach the final point, and it bounces back. Oh, so it went back, and now it continued because I didn't set a limit, a lower bound. Okay, so X max when it's greater or equal than width, but what happens when X max it's less or equal than 0? And that's something we gotta add to our condition. So if X max is greater or equal than width, or, and these two bars mean or in programming, when X max is less or equal than 0, okay, then it also changes the direction again. Okay, so if we do this, it should be bouncing back and forth over and over again. So it bounces on the right side and bounces on the left side. So when it reaches the width and when it reaches the lower bound, which is 0. So it's going to continuously bounce. If I want to change the speed of that ball, I just need to set up a bigger number for the direction. Okay, and that way it's bouncing side to side. Got it? Okay, so here comes our task. Okay, and in this task you will have to develop 2 balls that go up and down and 2 balls that go side to side. Now you really need to think about what are the variables that you want to change. First tip, each ball should have its own variables. These are the variables for one ball, so you're going to need 3 more variables for another ball, and 3 more if you need 3 balls. So I would change, remember, each variable has its own name. So for ball number 1, you want to have X max, Y max. For ball number 2, you might want to have X max 2, Y max 2, and so on and so forth. Try to do that and start increasing the number of balls, okay? So it looks something like this, okay? So this is what we want to look at, okay? And here you have 4 balls going, 2 of them going side to side, 2 of them going up and down. And this is very simple. Just always making sure that you do not exceed the limits, okay, and the conditions. And you can make as many conditions as you like. So you can add, this is one condition, okay? You can add more conditions underneath, just saying if this happens, then do this, okay? So go ahead and good luck with tutorial number 2.